Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really interesting, maybe a bit unusual for our sources.
Yeah. What do we got?
It's a snapshot, just a single web page from smdailyjournal.com, an online news article.
Okay, a news article page. Interesting source. What's the story?
Well, it's an update on a pretty high-profile trial, but our mission here is kind of two-pronged.
Right.
We want to pull out the key facts from the news itself, sure, but we also want to look at, the page, how the information is presented, how you access it, the digital context.
So the medium and the message. I like it. Because how local news operates online now, that tells its own story.
Exactly. That's what struck me immediately. You land on the page and bam, there's the urgent news headline. But right alongside it, maybe even before it, there's all this info about how to actually read it.
Yeah, the gatekeeping,
Yeah.
the login prompts, the subscription stuff, it's all woven together.
Totally. It felt like the news was wrapped in its own business plan.
And that structure itself is, well, it's revealing, isn't it? Shows the pressures, the models local journalism is using to survive online. It's not just what's happening, but how they let you know what's happening.
Okay, so let's dive into the what's first. The actual news story here. It's about Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial.
Right.
This update is dated July 1st, 2025, and the headline basically is that the jury has reached a verdict on 4 out of 5 counts.
And this is the kicker, they haven't decided on the big one.
The top charge, yeah.
They managed verdicts on 2 counts of sex trafficking and 2 counts of transportation for prostitution. But they were deadlocked, really, on the racketeering conspiracy charge.
Deadlocked after how long?
Not long at all, really, just 2 days, less than 13 hours of deliberation. They sent a note saying they had unpersuadable views on both sides for that racketeering count.
Wow, unpersuadable. That's strong language from a jury. Shows how divided they must have been on that specific charge.
Absolutely. Tells you a lot about the complexity or maybe the evidence presented for that particular count.
So what happens then if they're stuck?
Well, the judge, Irene Subramanian, talked with the lawyers, prosecution and defense. They all agreed it was, too soon to just accept a partial verdict.
Right, they wanted a full resolution if possible.
Exactly. So deliberations were set to continue. And that racketeering charge, it's often the toughest one.
Why is that? What makes it different?
Because it's not just about proving one specific crime. It's about proving Combs ran a whole criminal enterprise. Like an ongoing organization involved in illegal activities. Prosecutors have to show a pattern, a structure. It's much broader.
Gotcha. More complex than just, say, one incident.
Way more complex.
Yeah.
And the potential consequences, they're huge.
Let's talk about those potential sentences.
Okay, so for sex trafficking, there's a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years. 15 years to life, actually.
Wow, mandatory minimum.
Yeah. Then the transportation charge, that's about flying women or sex workers across state lines. That carries a maximum of 10 years. And the racketeering conspiracy charge, the one they're stuck on. That also carries a maximum sentence of life in prison.
So multiple paths to a potential life sentence. The stakes are incredibly high.
Absolutely enormous.
And the article paints a picture of Combs in court. Sounds pretty tense.
Yeah, it describes him. He's 55, looking morose, reading a paper his lawyer Mark Aniflo gave him. And then there's this moment as he's leaving court. He blows a kiss to his family and supporters, taps his heart, tells his mother, "Love you, and I'll be all right."
Heavy stuff. What were the core allegations again that led to these charges?
The prosecution argued Combs used his, fame, money, and even violence to coerce 2 girlfriends into these. They called them drug-fueled sex marathons with male sex workers.
Sometimes referred to as freak-offs or hotel nights.
That's right. Combs, of course, pleaded not guilty to everything.
And a defense strategy.
Their argument was basically that the prosecution was trying to criminalize his swinger lifestyle. They said, look, maybe some of this stuff, if it happened, was domestic violence, but it wasn't these huge federal felonies like racketeering or trafficking.
That's a really key distinction they're trying to draw, isn't it? Lifestyle versus federal conspiracy.
Absolutely crucial. It's about framing. Trying to convince the jury that the government overreached, that this doesn't fit the definition of those federal statutes.
And the jury's questions during deliberation, they kind of reflect that struggle.
Totally. Especially around the racketeering part. They asked to rehear testimony from Cassie Cassandra Ventura. She was a key witness for the prosecution, his former girlfriend.
What parts of her testimony did they want to revisit?
Several key incidents. There was the 2016 hotel assault in L.A., The one caught on that security video showing him allegedly beating and kicking her?
Yeah, that video was everywhere.
Right. They also asked about an incident at the Cannes Film Festival in 2013. She testified he accused her of taking his drugs, kicked her off their yacht, and threatened to leak explicit videos of her.
Jeez.
And there was more. Testimony from both Cassie and a stripper, Daniel Phillip, about her jumping into his lap at a hotel in New York. Phillip said he suspected she was being abused, even though she tried to assure him she was fine.
So really digging into the specifics of alleged coercion and control.
Exactly. And they also asked the judge for clarification on drug distribution, because that's an element, a potential part of the racketeering charge. The judge just pointed them back to the instructions he'd already given.
It sounds like a really complex web for the jury to untangle. And weren't there some issues within the jury room itself early on?
Yeah, that was interesting. Like, barely an hour after they started deliberating, the foreperson sent a note
About what?
complaining about another juror, saying something like, "We are concerned this juror cannot follow your honor's instructions."
Oh, wow. Right at the start. How did the judge handle that?
He basically just reminded all of them of their duty. Deliberate together, follow the law as instructed. But yeah, it hints at some potential friction or difficulty right out of the gate.
And Combs himself didn't testify.
No, he chose not to. His defense relied on cross-examining the prosecution's witnesses pretty heavily. That was their main strategy for building doubt.
Okay, so that's the core news story. Intense trial, jury partially decided but stuck on the main charge. But like we said, the source itself, this webpage, has another whole story.
Right. Let's shift gears to that, because as soon as you try to read this article online,
You hit the wall.
pretty much, big messages. Thank you for visiting the Daily Journal.
Yeah.
It's polite, but it's clear. You need to log in or subscribe to get the full story.
It's the classic paywall experience.
Exactly. And they spell out their model pretty clearly. It's a freemium approach.
Meaning,
You get one free article view per month, just one.
yeah.
If you register, just give them your email. Probably you get 2 more free views.
So 3 freebies total if you register.
All right. After that,
Yeah.
you got to pay up. They want you to subscribe.
And they frame it, interestingly, not just as buying news, but as supporting the community.
Yeah, there's this message saying a subscription means you're helping to support a local community institution that works for the betterment of our society.
Does that appeal work, do you think? This sort of civic duty angle?
I think it's crucial for local news outlets. They are community institutions often. They have to emphasize that value beyond just delivering headlines. They're selling belonging, support for local reporting.
Makes sense. So what are the options if you decide to subscribe?
They lay out 2 main tiers. There's the premium subscription.
Okay.
They market it as low as $8.25 per week, which actually comes out to $99 for a year if you pay up front.
The as low as phrasing always makes it sound cheaper per installment.
Standard marketing, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So premium gets you quite a bit. Full access to their e-edition.
The e-edition. That's like the digital version of the print paper.
Exactly.
Mm.
A replica. You get the layout, the ads, the classifieds, comics, crossword puzzles, games. You can download issues. Apparently the last 90 are available.
So that probably appeals to people who liked the physical paper.
Definitely. Plus, premium gets you unlimited online article access, commenting privileges, and this new thing, an online-only digital crossword puzzle, updated daily.
Okay, so e-edition and an extra crossword for premium. What's the other option?
That's the basic subscription, pitched as low as $5 per month or $60 for the year.
Cheaper. What does that get you?
Unlimited online article access, same as premium, and commenting access.
So the main difference is basic users don't get the e-edition or that daily digital crossword.
Correct. It's clearly structured to upsell. They're betting that the e-edition and the puzzle are valuable enough to push some people to the higher price point. It's smart bundling.
Yeah, creating distinct value propositions.
Yeah.
And even beyond the paywall mechanics, just looking at the page structure, it tells you this is a pretty comprehensive local operation.
Oh, for sure. Look at the navigation menu. It's huge.
Right. News sections for local, community, Bay Area, state, national, world. Then opinion, sports, e-edition again, events, arts and entertainment, lifestyle.
Celebrations, obits, advertising, classifieds. It covers the whole spectrum of what a traditional local paper does.
It really underscores the breadth of their coverage, even if much of it is behind that paywall.
And look at the community features, too. Even if commenting is subscriber only, they have an event calendar, ways to submit events, place ads, submit obituaries.
Trying to be that community hub.
Exactly. And they even have explicit comment rules. Be civil, no personal attacks, no threats, be truthful, report abuse. They're trying to foster a certain kind of online community space.
Which is a challenge for any news site these days.
Okay.
And then just rounding out the page, there's the other stuff you'd expect, like the local weather.
Yep, San Mateo, California, 66 degrees, partly cloudy, standard local site feature.
Links to their social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Insta, RSS feeds. And prompts to sign up for email newsletters.
Breaking news, daily headlines, business intelligence, sports. They want to reach you in multiple ways, keep you engaged. It's a whole ecosystem they're building.
So pulling this all together, this deep dive into just one web page, it gave us the urgent Diddy trial news, yes, but it also opened this whole window into how news is, well, packaged and sold today.
Absolutely. It wasn't just what happened in the trial, but how we find out about it, how we access that information in this digital world, especially from a local source.
That seems like the really crucial thing for you, our listener, to take away here.
Yeah, I think so, because understanding these layers, the news content, the paywall strategy, the community features, the subscription tiers, it helps you navigate the information landscape more effectively. This one page is like a case study in the economics and value proposition of modern journalism, particularly local journalism.
You see the news, but you also see the business trying to sustain itself to deliver that news.
Exactly. The whole balancing act is right there on the page.
Which leaves us with a pretty interesting thought, maybe something for you to chew on. In this era where so much important news, breaking news, in-depth reporting is behind these paywalls, what responsibility do we have as people who consume information towards supporting the organizations that produce it? And maybe more critically, how does this paywall model potentially shape our collective access to and understanding of really important events?